good evening, one and all. It's great to have you with us on Red Barn Radio. I'm Brad Becker. This is season number 19 of Red Barn Radio, and tonight we welcome you to show 722. And if that's not reason for clapping, nothing is. It's a great number. It was just a year ago, that the first cases of COVID were reported and Red Barn Radio went on hiatus. We returned as a virtual live-streamed weekly event as we are today. We continue to keep our staff and our musical guests safe, adhering to state and local guidelines concerning cleanliness and personal protective equipment. So, ladies and gentlemen, for now, you, the online viewers and radio listeners, are the Red Barn Radio audience with 100% of our attention. Tonight on Red Barn Radio, we bring you the alt-country, tongue-in-cheeky, dark and dirty, punky, garage-grassy sound of a band who calls themselves Driftmouth. They have a new release called Loveridge is Burning, an album whose progress stalled like so many other things in 2020, and until the band was able to resume maneuvers to get it done in August. We are so glad to have these guys with us tonight. Welcome Lou, Murph, and Nate. They call themselves Driftmouth. Give them a hand.
Summer, the old tree-lined homestead is bathed in a cool indigo. The low pines cast shadows, they cut through the tall grass and creep up the pale gravel road. Good and kind of light and a leaving look in your eye. Don't you come back till you get what you wanted. Just let your tears say goodbye. You learn how to live in a dusty old barroom where the bottle wouldn't leave you alone. The old man collapsing, they grab for your satin. They're leaving, but they ain't going home. Baby, I suppose I fell into you and pushed till I turned you to stone. Maybe just afraid we took too far a road that would leave us alone. And all of our yesterdays, our time that was given, time that was already gone. Sudden kind of light, and there's a leaving look in your eye. And don't you come back till you get what you wanted. Just let your tears say goodbye. I see the young starling in the cold dead of winter, and she knows but to fly and to sing. Oh, by the chimney she's silent in the lee of the north wind, and buries herself in her wings. Thank you. If I could have just a little more monitor here, I think we might have cut out a little bit. Yeah, I don't. Oh, there. Thank you, Checker. Shh.
This evening we bring to the Red Barn stage Driftmouth. Driftmouth is a Columbus, Ohio band comprised of Lou Poster, who is doing the singing and playing the lead guitar, David Murphy, Murph on drums and vocals, and the newest member of the band, who is, Nate Bright. We just met each other, and I've already forgotten. I'm sorry. So Nate Bright is the newest member of the band. These guys are Driftmouth. We've been waiting for them to come a long time, and hope you guys enjoy the show. Welcome back, Driftmouth.
Well, I should probably get to drinking or make my way back home. Just head out east, cross Ohio, sinking like a stone. But I left those hills behind me, and I wandered into town. Well, those city lights burn brighter then, and so much colder now. You gotta know the shape I'm in. You hang on the arm of a lesser man. It's too late to say I'm sorry now. Truth be told, I never am. Well, I never am. Just weren't much for sleeping on those Franklin County nights. Well, that apartment lit like kindling to the fire in your eye. We were drowning in Black Label to forget our roads we passed, and we put on Bonfire in the Dixie cup and laid out in the grass. You gotta know the shape I'm in. You hang on the arm of a lesser man. It's too late to say I'm sorry now. Truth be told, I never am. Well, I never am. You gotta know the shape I'm in. You hang on the arm of a lesser man. It's too late to say I'm sorry now. Truth be told, I never am. You gotta know the shape I'm in. Hang on the arm of a lesser man. It's too late to say I'm sorry now. Truth be told, I never am. We are Driftmouth. We're from Columbus, Ohio, and Athens, Ohio, and all the place over Ohio. Thanks for having us down to Kentucky. We had to drive through some high water today, but we made it. We're glad we did. Got a lifeguard? Yeah. All right. It's a sad song, if ever I wrote one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Precious light, won't you stay the night and drag me back to the surface of life when I drown? Well, there's a ghost in every corner of the room, and empty cigarette packs and worn out boots and little piles of clothes that somehow still smell like you. Well, there's a ghost in every corner of the room, and he don't offer much but makes you choose. Well, ain't he always looking to bend my ear when I got work to do? There's a ghost in every corner of the room, and precious light, won't you stay the night and drag me back to the surface of life when I drown? Well, I was told that all good things must surely pass by a man with gin and lime, seasoned ice in his glass. Said time is funny and it moves too fast. Make sure you stop and laugh. Well, I was told that all good things must surely pass. Precious light, won't you stay the night? Drag me back to the surface of life when I drown. Precious light, won't you say goodbye? When I drown. Thank you. This next song here is called Daredevil and the Snake River Canyon. And it was inspired by the life and times of a man named Evel Knievel. Oh, I'm sorry. I skipped one. We are going to do Iris. This song is called Iris, and it's not about any of that. Wide awake, you wandered into the night, down the back streets, in and out of the light. I know you can't sleep, babe, and everything's alright. Just spare a thought for me when I'm at your side. It's what it took you a lifetime to know. It's gone from you in waves along, and down you go, Iris, down you go. Came into town, stuck to a lamp-lit bar stool, chasing it down. I know the past was like a friend that can't be found, and I could never see why you wanted me around. And I, what it took you a lifetime to know, it's gone from you in waves along, down you go, Iris, down you go. What it took you a lifetime to know, it's gone from you in waves along, down you go, Iris, down you go. So my apologies for jumping the gun. I was just so excited to play this next song. I wrote this after I saw a documentary on Evel Knievel. I'm one of those kids that grew up with the little motorcycle you wind up on, leave a streak down the linoleum and catch a beating for it. That was me. And I was obsessed with the man. And now I've written this little song about him. Hope it's not too sad. It's called Daredevil and the Snake River Canyon. The asphalt's still humming in the dark. Starlight cast a shadow on your mark. Well, ain't no engine like fear, and ain't no fuel like your pride. You sold a ticket, take the ride. Dare the devil every night on the shoes that were never meant to fly. God knows how you made it for so long, when everything's for the taking, right or wrong. Bobby was a hustler, it's all he ever knew. It's just the way he thought of me and you. Said no one wants to see me die, but they don't want to miss it if I do. The old Snake River's still waiting it's all that you can do. Thinking everything you've abandoned lies out there across that canyon will disappoint you. Wheelchair is your last ride, count the spokes. A shut-in and a lunger losing home. You hear him coughing, tearing at the walls. It's just the devil laughing down the hall. Prying eyes and camera lights, well, they long for a different kind of fall. The old Snake River's still waiting. For a while everybody wants to run wild, but it's all that you can do. Thinking everything you've abandoned lies out there across that canyon will disappoint you. Will disappoint you. Will disappoint you. Disappoint you.
Hey, we got Driftmouth on Red Barn Radio tonight. This band formed in Columbus in 2014. They're fronted by singer-songwriter Lou Poster, who toured worldwide with his band Grafton before forming Driftmouth. Murph on drums is also he's a seasoned performer and plays more than drums, I hear. Maybe we'll learn more about that. And then Nate, as I told you before, is the band's newest member, who joined not long ago as the band sort of realigned and retreaded, I guess, as they say. So it's great to have you guys with us. And you know, Lou, if you don't mind, before we lose these songs, I'd love for you to talk a little bit about last couple of songs you played. Why don't you start with the Snake River Canyon one? I saw that title and I realized I'd forgotten what a major deal it was to wait for Evel Knievel to jump.
Right.
When I was in my high school years.
Right.
It was always like, you know, we talked about it at school.
Well, they made like an hour-long TV special about it for like the 30-second jump or whatever.
Right.
And it held you the whole time. What's going to happen?
Right.
Yeah.
It was such a part of our cultural history that, you know, sort of a snapshot of that time period.
Yeah.
In the 70s when he was doing that jumping. And then he had a kid too, right?
I'm not actually sure. Yeah, no, he does have a son. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, talk about that song though.
Well, that song was actually, you know, Evel Knievel is a hero that's ingrained in my persona, right? I grew up with him being on the TV, having the toys. And then you watch the documentary and they say, don't meet your heroes or whatever. You see this documentary about Evel Knievel and you see how he was like a conflicted person and kind of what motivated him to do the crazy things that he did. You know, just his deep-seated personality disorders and the way that he saw the world. You know, he saw everybody kind of as a mark. He was an insurance salesman. He was a burglar. He was, you know, always in trouble with the law. And it's because he saw the world in a certain way. And when he expresses the idea of why people want to see him jump, and he says, they don't want to see me die, but they don't want to miss it if I do, that line made it right into the song. That line was the whole song when I first came about it. I was like, wow, that's such a crazy perspective, right?
Oh, it's unbelievable.
Yeah. So I got, you know, I was already infatuated with the idea of Evel Knievel, and then that element of it just darkens the tone of the story to a degree. And then the irony that he would dare the devil to take his life on a motorcycle every day, and then ended up dying, of a lung condition in a wheelchair later on. Like that's the way that the devil kind of gets his revenge,
That's an amazing story.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great topic for a song. I can't wait to dig in and read your lyrics. So the lyrics of I saw some lyrics of your music on your website.
That first record did make the website. I'm lazy, so a lot of the lyrics haven't made the website yet for the second record.
Well, they're really good.
They're in the liner notes of the album.
Oh, good. You're a really good writer, and I think it's great to get up on a website, on a band's website, especially if you got a good songwriter like you, and to see the breakdown of what's happening in the story. So I will anxiously await.
I will get on that when I get home.
And hey, what about Iris? The song Iris.
So Iris is a story of my grandmother passed away. She had Alzheimer's, and she got to the point where she couldn't recognize her own family. She couldn't recognize her own son, and that affected me very deeply. And I've always wanted to write something about that because I think that that's the most terrifying end of life thing that could happen to a person, when you lose the things that you have created to make you who you are. And so I wrote that song Iris to just kind of get at that idea of somebody, in this situation, she's a bar denizen drinking her troubles away, and the protagonist of the song finds her and doesn't realize why she was so clingy to him, and then figures out later that it's because she's losing all of the things that she's stacked up to make her herself. And so that erosion and that kind of loss, I thought was a good topic for,
Well, yeah,
for a song,
and pretty personal
for a
too,
boogie
yeah.
for a boogie dance blues song.
Well, yeah, right. I got to admit, because when I learned a little bit about what the song was about, I was definitely expecting more something ballady and probably on the acoustic.
Right.
So
Yeah.
Nice surprise. yeah, I liked it.
They all start out that way, by the way. They all start out either on this guitar or the other one that I've got kicking around my house. So even the loud rock songs are acoustic ballads at first, and then we just kind of get in and mess with them.
When you get into songs like for instance the Evel Knievel song, do you get into sort of researching the topic a little bit? You mentioned the documentary.
Yeah.
Do you really like to get into that? Like when you write a song about Alzheimer's, do you study that a little bit, or do you just draw upon your own experience?
I do to a degree, but I also don't want to make it academic, I guess.
Yeah.
So there's a line that I don't cross with deep dives, and sometimes I get stuff wrong. Like, there are details that are in some of my songs that I find out later after doing like a brief Wikipedia search or whatever. Oh, that's not exactly right. You know what I mean? But I don't think that that's the point. It's not a history lesson so much as it is just like trying to create a feeling. Songs are about emotions, and this medium is extremely powerful. You can put your ideas into somebody's head, and in a way that I can't just do by writing, just via literature. So, it's less about being factually accurate and more about it being emotionally accurate, I guess.
So tell me about the band you sort of cut your teeth with, the Grafton band. So how long were you doing that?
Well, Grafton started out as a two-piece called Yellow Dog, and I was 20, I think. So I did that from 90, what does that make me, 27? From like 97, 98 until just a few years ago. We eventually became a three-piece and changed the name to Grafton, and we put out 3 full-length records, a couple of EPs. And that was just a heavier band. It was still like the stories of like small-town people and what makes them unique and tragic in ways and whatever. I grew up reading people like Breeze Pancake and writers like that, Robert Wright. And so I'm really interested in what makes people weird and why. And so that I wrote, 3 albums based on short stories that I had written about small town mischievousness. And that was Grafton. So it was just basically a character that I created that was doing all this kind of bad stuff. And wrote 3 albums of material based on that character.
Oh, wow.
And then
Great
with
project.
this band, it's less, it's a little broader perspective. I'm just taking more of, it's the same kind of an idea where I've got a lot of characters and a lot of people that I've met and a lot of people that I've met several times that I can create a proxy character to represent all of them. but it's not as narrow as like it's just one character telling stories. So this is just more me telling stories, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At what point in your life did you become sort of enamored with the writing process and telling stories? And did you go back to like your teen years when you were in high school?
It does. I mean, I knew that I wasn't a very good writer, so I didn't want to call myself a writer for a long time because bad writing is really, really bad. And so I kind of kept it to myself for a while and worked on it. But I started writing probably when I was 13 or 14.
And
it's really bad.
Well, yeah, bad. How? I mean, did you have a teacher who?
I did. I had I growing up in West Virginia, I got really lucky. I had a very good English program in my high school that challenged all of us, and pushed us all to read stuff that, I don't know that a lot of other people in school systems, even neighboring communities and counties, had. We read Beowulf and Chaucer and all that stuff when we were young. But the idea of storytelling has always been something that really appealed to me.
Huh.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, cool. And so why don't we talk about how this particular group of people ended up together? So you and Murph have played together for a while.
Yeah, we've been doing this for 2 years now, Murph? 3 years?
1 year.
Well,
1 year and 1 COVID year.
Right.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Whatever that
What
year
is time?
Yeah. So, Murph, you played with a band a long time. And I love the Two Cow Garage.
Yeah.
That's the name of the band.
Yep.
Yeah, right. And tell us about Two Cow Garage.
Oh man,
Which- Great
Two
name.
Cow will be turning 20 this year, I think.
Where are they based?
Columbus, Ohio.
Oh.
And it was one of those where I played a lot of shows. Another band of mine, Ghost Shirt, we traveled together, played a lot of shows together, played on each other's stuff here and there. And the drummer's seat came open, and it was one of those I had stood in the front row and spilled enough beer on my shoes watching those guys to kind of know the songs after a while. And I got to join one of my favorite bands, and
That's cool.
spent many a year on the road with those guys, and that's roundabout. That's kind of eventually how I ended up meeting Lou in a weird people in bands and bars and the way we all kind of move around, and so yeah, I spent a long time doing that, and we were all over the country quite a bit, and those guys will be celebrating their 20 years now coming up soon, so
That's a good run.
yeah, anymore, a year in a band, it's like dog years, so, like Lou was talking about, Grafton going back to, 97 and all that, it's, if you can move around and play and, do these things after a while, and put that many years in, it's, it says something, I think.
Yeah, I'd say.
Yeah.
Sometimes it says you're too stubborn to quit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sometimes it says you're too stubborn to quit.
Hey, Murph, what other instruments do you play?
Oh man, I grew up a horn player, so anything with valves, trumpet, cornet, and euphonium, and baritone, and all these things. I can noodle around on enough stuff to get me in trouble, or I play a little bit of piano. I'll when no one's looking, I'll play guitar and I'll play bass here and there, but mainly drums, horns, and piano, and some singing here and there, just depending on what I'm working on. And right now I'm trying to kind of use horns on some stuff at home, not as a primary instrument, but where other people might put oohs and ahs and harmonies and things like that. Just take horns and then, stack them that way and then stuff them way down behind the mix so nobody can hear how much I don't practice. And, it's been a long, long time since I tried to, go out and be the super chops horn player guy. I've found out that's it takes an awful lot of discipline. So I just kind of use them as these stacking instruments and long notes, and I like pretty horn sounds.
Yeah, playing the high school band and that kind of thing.
I did high school, middle school, high school, marching band, all that stuff, yeah. And then, every time I'm loading out all these drums and carrying out the heavy cases at the end of the night, I keep thinking, like, man, trumpet sounds real good right about now. And just grab that one thing and
yeah,
walk
right.
out the door.
One case.
Yeah.
Murph, you come from West Virginia too?
No, I'm born and raised Columbus, Ohio.
Okay.
My dad is from West Virginia, down in Wyoming County. But I'm born and raised in Columbus.
All right. Hey, Nate. Great to have you here.
Thanks.
Yeah, nice job stepping into a band. And where are you from? Where's home for you?
I'm born and raised in Athens, Ohio.
And so where's Athens in relation to Columbus?
Athens is
Step
southeast.
up a little closer if you don't mind.
sorry.
Yeah.
Athens is southeast of Columbus, about an hour
Okay.
down State Route 33.
Okay.
Yeah, it's where Ohio University is located, which
Yeah,
is
sure.
pretty well known for being a big party school pre-COVID, I guess.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So I grew up around that county, and I actually graduated from Ohio University, and I own a little business there in town. And
What'd you do in college?
Education. I'm supposed to be a high school social studies teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can still do that.
Yeah, I could if I wanted to, go back to school to do my certification and all that stuff. But yeah, I've passed the test and all that, so I never actually pursued it. I was already well on my way to being an entrepreneur before I ever got a good interview. So,
Uh-huh.
You know.
And what is your business?
I own a lawn care service.
All right.
Yeah.
That keeps you in good shape, I guess, probably. Keeps you out in the sun. And
Yeah, man. I mean, I work a lot. Yeah.
I bet you do. I bet you do. Well, we always appreciate you guys. It seems like lawn service businesses are growing. We see so many in our neighborhood all the time.
Yeah.
And yeah. So do you employ a bunch of people too?
No, I've only got one employee full-time and a couple that part-time, so nothing too big. I just started 3 years ago. I was in the sales world for a long time, and I got tired of that and decided I didn't want to work for anybody anymore, so now I work for myself.
All right. You sound a little restless, Nate. But very good to meet you.
Yeah, likewise.
Yeah. All right. Hey, what's coming up next in the set list here, Lou? I see the Ghost of Paul Weaver and Wake You Up.
If
Can you
I'm
talk
reading
about
it
those
correctly
songs?
now,
Yeah, I see.
I've got the Ghost of Paul Weaver
Ghost of
next.
Paul Weaver next, and then Wake You Up. Can you talk about those songs?
The Ghost of Paul Weaver is a story about. So I come from a coal mining family. My dad was third generation coal miner for 37 years in West Virginia, and I grew up in a town that's kind of in the shadow of the mansion of the man that owned the coal mine, John Watson, and he made people work for scrip and didn't pay them green money and built this fabulous mansion in the middle of town, and everybody else lived in duplexes and whatever. So when I was born and up until I was about 4 or 5 years old, we lived right behind the mansion. They call it Highgate now. Appropriately, it's a funeral home now. But we then moved across the river back to the old mining camp, which is where my great-grandfather had dug coal for that man. And you have to drive through the old camp to get to my parents' current house, and where I spent the last 15 years of being in West Virginia. So what I did was I took an idea of a character that was both my grandfather and his brother, who owned about 80 acres just outside of town, and what they would have done should that man have come calling for their land rights, and what would have happened to them when they refused. And so I wrote this kind of fictional tale that has a whole lot of grounding in reality, called The Ghost of Paul Weaver, about what happens when you stand up to the coal companies.
Very cool.
Wake You Up is pretty much just about drinking and getting around your small town.
All right, good. Well, that's good. That's good. Hey, well, let's. So no great detail needed there.
No.
All right, so let's get back to Driftmouth on Red Barn Radio. Give him a hand.
Let's see if I get any noise out of this thing. Ghost of Paul Weaver. A 1, 2, 3. Well, they say he lost his life riding the rails of a Norfolk and Southern train. He's been a ghost in these hills such a long time that everybody knows his name. Down in the valley below, he stayed alone most days and all night in the morel patch and crabapple grove. It was a rare fine day if he'd stop by visit with Eliza Jones, and down in the valley below. Well, on restless nights, on these bitter and winding roads, cut from the hills by the hands that cut our throats. He walks the ages and the stories they unfold down in the valley below. The man in town, they thought that Paul was weak. They said that he was nervous and slow. When the company came for their land rights, well, he's the only man that said no. Eliza came one night a-calling and found herself a typewritten note. Said, I'm a lighting out, babe, be gone, and nobody will ever know. Down in the valley below, on restless nights, on these bitter and winding roads, cut from the hills by the hands that cut our throats. Well, he walks the ages and the stories they unfold down in the valley below. Paul Weaver lost his life tied to the rail of a Norfolk and Southern train. He's been a ghost in these hills such a long time, nobody remembers his name. Animated video for that song is coming out next week. Since we can't get together to shoot videos like this very often. Wake you up. 1, 2, 3. Embers in the ash, daylight's high here. Bourbon in a glass, like a gun in my hand. The sun is sinking fast, smoke is rising. Tonight I'm gonna wake you up. Everyone's sleeping. Drive you around this one night time. Everyone's leaving. As soon as the money comes in, the bills are run out. Daddy quits drinking. One of these days, one of these nights. Mama's still concerned I ain't found Jesus. But he and I got different terms and conditions get worse. He said I'll never learn, they got damn good reason. Night I'm gonna wake you up. Everyone's sleeping. Just drive you around this one light town. Everyone's leaving. As soon as the money comes in, bills run out. Daddy quits drinking. One of these days, one of these nights. But how long till it wears us out? Running circles around we go. How long till it wears us out? Running circles around, round we go. Bourbon in a glass, like a gun in my hand. But how long till it wears us out? Running circles around we go. How long till it wears us out? Running circles around we go. How long till it wears us out? Running circles around, around we go. Thanks, guys. Thanks to those of you who are tuning in from afar, and even some of you who may be tuning in from abroad, because you can do that. This next song gets its title, Chase After Me, Sheriff, from the French. I was driving my friends, the New Bomb Turks, on a tour right before all the COVID stuff happened, and one of their better friends is a man named Gilles, and we were talking about Smokey and the Bandit, as one does, and that plot of that movie was being discussed. Gilles chimes in and he says, you know, in France, I'm not going to try to do his accent. He said, you know, in France, we don't translate it that way. There's no Smokey and there's no Bandit, so we call that movie Chase After Me, Sheriff. And so that's what this song is called. There was a time when I was satisfied with life in Arkansas. Well, catch me now, I ride the South with a long arm out against the law. Not that it matters, 'cause everything shatters, but I damn sure do like the way you drive. Hey, little lady, it sure looks like you've done run off and got yourself involved in a East Texas bootleg run. They'll howl it till the top comes off. Not that it matters, 'cause everything shatters. Damn sure you like the way you drive. Thanks a lot, Brad, for introducing the band, but I'm going to give it a shot. Little info you didn't get out of the first interview. Back here on the drums is Mr. David Murphy. When I met him, he was shooting rats down at the Andy Man Tree Bar with a .22 Magnum, keeping the place clean. Over here on the bass guitar, the newly purchased 65 Gibson. My buddy Nate Bright. When I met this man, he had an upright bass in one hand and a jar of moonshine in the other hand. We've been friends ever since. 20-some years now. Matters, 'cause everything shattered. Damn sure do like the way you drive. Thank you. I'm going to switch over to the acoustic guitar.
No, you're doing. Oh yeah, you're doing two, and then
I'm doing two. Yep. All right, we're getting in the groove. That was a long van ride. Sounds like an old ship. Every time I move, I think somebody's gonna hear it. Hey folks, next week on Red Barn Radio, we welcome DM and the 1601s. They come to us as a largely acoustic trio for this show, which suits the two guitarists just fine considering their history of playing bluegrass music together. But DM and the 1601s also perform as a full-bore outlaw country operation, which they'll return to with a band, reconfig, and a new drummer. All these guys are from Harlan, Kentucky, and they all write. In fact, their music was featured more than once on the acclaimed FX TV series called Justified. Join us for some down and dirty. That's next week with the DM and the 1601s. Roots music, Southern style. That's what we're about. Red Barn Radio. Now let's get back to tonight's Red Barn Radio program. We are coming to you live on our social media platforms from the Arts Place Performance Hall here in the great city of Lexington, Kentucky. Now welcome back, please, Driftmouth to the Red Barn stage. Your love's like a bad song, babe. It's always playing on the radio. I can't get away. Like a broken jukebox in a crowded room. Everybody knows that you could never change your tune. The words you string together don't say much, and they don't rhyme. And your chorus just keeps coming round, like I heard it too many times. Leaving you is like a sad song, babe, running through my mind when I'm alone in bed all day. Burned out, but I'll keep on trying. Every trick I know to get you out of my head. The words you string together don't say much, and they don't rhyme. And your chorus just keeps coming round, like I heard it too many times. The words you string together don't say much, and they don't rhyme. And your chorus just keeps coming round, think I heard it too many times. I'm going to do one more here on this D35, and then we're going to get back to the loud stuff. This is a song that I wrote about moving to Columbus, Ohio from Fairmont, West Virginia, and finding myself in the middle of a really bad neighborhood for way too long. It's called This Part of Town. Well, hold your memories, nothing will replace them, like a meadow in the breeze, or the towns we were escaping. Folks like you and me, we land here when we're running. Floor is cold, but rent is cheap, and the cupboard's full of nothing. I know you just want to fix up, babe, and talk about something else, but I just want to take you down. I don't care too much anymore for this part of town. There's garbage in the streets, window blinds are broken and faded like your jeans, and the words that we've spoken, well, like you were to me. You knew the clouds meant something strange you couldn't see, the storms when they were coming. I know you just want to fix up, babe, talk about something else, but I just want to take you down. I don't care too much anymore for this part of town. I told you I would leave without no hesitation. Well, a man can find a ride any day to Western stations. Now I'll start a fight that I lost long ago. Darling, you were right. I ain't living here alone. I know you just want to fix up, babe, and talk about something else. But I just want to tear you down. I don't care too much anymore this part of time. I don't care too much anymore this part of time. This is a song called Myra. Myra went down to the river last night to sing and to cry for her man. Some years ago, his body was found on the shore in the brambles and sand. Jim was a miner and he loved his work. The whiskey and cocaine he'd buy, and he loved his Myra, any old girl with a smile or a twinkle in eye. Run away, Myra, run away, hide. The devil has come for his due. Run away, Myra, run away, hide. Darkness will close in on you. Late one night, Jim came in. The cold air still carried the dew, and Myra sat fast as the candles burned low with a shotgun and dinner for two. Run away, Myra, run away, hide. The devil has come for his due. Run away, Myra, run away, hide. Darkness will close in on you. Sat down to supper and he bowed his head. He said a prayer and he blew out the light. And the last thing he saw world. There was a twinkle in his mind's eye. Run away, Myra, run away, hide. The devil has come for his due. Run away, Myra, run away, hide. The darkness will close in on you. Darkness will close in on you. Darkness will close in on you. Thanks, guys.
Hey Lou, tell us where the name Driftmouth came from. Today at work we were trying to come up with some definitions of our own for the word driftmouth. And
We're taking bets, and we're going to see money change hands. When
we had some fun ones, which I won't repeat. I'd rather just hear you say where the name comes from.
Well, the name comes from the entrance and exit of a coal mine that runs along what's called the drift. So the seam of coal, once it's in the hill, is called a drift. And if you walk into it, it looks like a big black pit. But from inside looking out, it looks like a little patch of sky, which was the name of my first record for Driftmouth. It was an homage because the song that we're going to play next is called Loveridge is Burning, and that was originally written as a retirement gift from my father. When he retired after 37 years, I didn't have any money because, as we've discussed earlier, I was in a band and had been touring the world. And he was retiring. I wanted to get him something nice. I couldn't afford to do that, so I wrote this song that I thought kind of told his story a little bit. I've been telling a bunch of other people's stories. I thought I'd try to tell his.
Huh.
To a degree, it's, again, not factually accurate. Why let the truth get in the way of the good story? But it's got a lot of details that I remember from being a child that he kind of brought to me.
Huh.
And there's a mine in West Virginia. It's based on a true story. There's a mine called Loveridge. It was the first longwall mine in that region. And it was supposed to revitalize the economy of Marion County, Wetzel County, that north central West Virginia area. And instead it caught on fire and burned for years. And eventually they brought in a jet engine and put the fire out with exhaust from a jet engine. But it's the same seam of coal that's been giving people problems in that area for generations. My grandfather worked at Number 9 mine, which mined that same area, and it exploded twice with really terrible consequences in '54 and in '68. And so this song is basically a kind of a tribute to that work and those men and those stories.
Huh. So I have some notions about what it might be like to grow up in a family of coal miners, and maybe none of the notions are correct at all. But I'm wondering, did your dad, your parents, were your parents together?
Yes.
Yeah. Did they support your plan to go out and do the music?
Maybe not so much the music, because they wanted something more stable for me, but it was definitely encouraged that I find other work, which is, just fine.
Are you the only child?
No, I have a younger brother.
Okay.
Yeah, and he also avoided working the mines, so. He's still there. He's still in Marion County, but he's also, I don't know that there's a whole lot of work for him, being of this age right now down there anyway.
Would you have said that your dad would have liked to see you follow in his footsteps and do mine work?
No, he very
At that point?
heartily encouraged me from an early age not to. He actually did go to college for a year, the same way that I did, half-heartedly. I went for a semester and lived for a year in a dorm, and he had done basically the same thing. And when he got out of the mines, or out of the college, there was work in the mine, and there wasn't a whole lot of other choices for a good-paying, solid job in that area at that time. Luckily, I had more options.
Yeah.
And I did want to pursue music, and that was definitely a point of contention. But it's okay.
Yeah.
Everything's turned out just fine.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, how cool that you came back from that and gave him that gift. He must That must have been pretty special to him.
I think he enjoyed it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you described your high school as a place where you felt like you had a really special education there.
I did. Yeah.
And you graduated from high school there in was it Marion County?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
And then
Fairmont Senior there in Marion County.
Oh, okay. And then at what point did you decide to move up to Columbus? I was so taken with your story, in the story of Part of Town. I can't remember. Was it called Part of Town?
This part of town.
This
yeah.
part of town, yeah. I was really taken with that story because you think about the experiences we have as writers, the kinds of things that shape our craft,
Right.
I guess. And you do more of this than I do, but I'd be interested to hear you talk about some of these things that have happened in your life that have really shaped your thinking and the way that you write. Truck driving is one, for instance, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, talk about that.
So I didn't drive big rigs, but one of my very first, big boy pants jobs was I would get deadheaded up to Buffalo, New York, and pick up these moving trucks that had been leased out by companies, that did like self-storage places or apartment buildings. They were kind of sexy looking trucks. They had the big fiberglass cap on the back of them, and they kind of look like my Sprinter van now, but this was in, the late 90s. And
you're how old at this point?
I was probably 20,
Okay.
21 when I first started doing that. And it was my first cross-country trek. It was my first big experience with seeing, that part of the world. And I would get dropped off in Buffalo. They would give me an envelope full of money, and whatever I had left over at the end of the trip was mine to keep. And I was the West Coast guy, so I would drive to Los Angeles or Sacramento or Seattle or whatever, and then fly home. And so that's how I got to know the interstate system. I'd get the AAA trip ticks. I don't know if you remember those or not, but
I sure do.
the ladies would highlight them up. I'm sure there were some gentlemen too, but it was very much highlighted, and then there would be little pencil notations. There might be construction here still, and you would flip through it as you went. Okay, I need exit 175. Okay, and that's how I got to learn my way around the country, and I got to meet all kinds of crazy people. And I realized pretty quickly that I didn't want to be a long haul trucker for a career, because I would walk into the pilot and there would be those banks of payphones along on the way back to the bathrooms. There would be, a dozen or so payphones, and there would be, every phone would be taken up by a trucker in some various stage of divorce or, child support or something. And I was like, I don't want any of that, but of course I chose to be in a band on the road for a long time. And I got divorced. And but yeah, I mean, I get to meet a lot of really interesting people. The people that we deliver to were extraordinarily interesting folks, and people who are in business for themselves that run self-storage spaces. If you ever get bored and you're looking for material, just go chat up a dude that owns a self-storage place. It's a never-ending wealth of personality.
So were you writing at that time when you were truck driving
Yeah.
to the point where you were you were taking record of some of these exchanges you had? And
Absolutely.
Oh, good.
The first few Grafton records actually were written in those trucks, because those trucks didn't come equipped with radios or tape decks.
Nothing?
Nothing. So I did not have anything to listen to.
What about CB radio?
No, I didn't. Not until much later I got a CB radio for myself.
Huh.
But they were basically like 4 E350s. They were big Econolines with this cap on them, and so I didn't have any communication with the outside world, and it was pre-cell phone for me. So
yeah, right.
I just was in my head for 18 hours a day driving, which I've found is a really cool hypnotic way to unlock that part of your brain.
Yeah, that's amazing.
You have to train your mind on keeping it between the ditches, but past that, your brain is free to act.
So talk about the experience of a West Virginia guy, West Virginia kid. How old were you when you went up to Columbus?
I was 19 when I moved to Columbus.
So 19. Okay, yeah. So talk about that experience of finishing high school in West Virginia, where you lived your whole life.
Yeah.
Okay, and going up to Columbus. What was
I had gone to college for, like I said, I attended classes for one semester and lived in the dorm for 1 year. And then when I found out at the dorm and had to leave, I didn't want to go back to my hometown. And eventually I wanted to be in Chicago. That was what I thought that I wanted to do. So I moved to Columbus because we could get rich working for $7.15 an hour, which is a lot more than the $4.25 I was used to making, doing my lawn
landscaping and stuff like that back home. So I was like, well, yeah, I'll just go to Columbus for 6 months, save up some money, move to Chicago. And I fell in love with Columbus, not at first. When I first got there, I moved in with about 7 or 8 other people in a half double, which is a 3-bedroom situation. And just to keep the rent down, they just had, that one had 7 or 8 people in it, another one had 9 or 11 people in
All
it.
people that you knew?
Didn't know each other at
strangers.
all. Just strangers. Walked up and knocked on the door. I knew a guy who lived there 6 months ago that told me the address, and they were like, yeah, come on in.
And this was a
And that's
bad
how-
part of town?
And this is a bad part of town. And then I took another apartment down there, right at 3rd and High, if anybody's from Columbus. I lived above Bodega, which is now like a happening bar, and it's an arts district, and it's expensive. I paid $250 a month to rent the apartment above that bar back then, which probably now goes for, I'm guessing, $2,500 or $3,000. But it was awful. It was a bad neighborhood. There were gangs that ran the streets, and I didn't have a phone, so I had to use the payphone outside, and it was just, it was a pretty bad time in the life.
Yeah.
So, but it was definitely something that, you know, I carry that with me. I have some wits about me from living down there for, 18 months or whatever, and then I moved to another neighborhood that wasn't. I've never lived in what you'd call, I guess, a nice neighborhood, but that wasn't quite so scary.
Yeah,
And
right.
I've been in Columbus for 25 years, and just recently, 6 months ago, my partner Donna and I bought a house down in Athens County, not too far from where Nate is.
Gotcha.
And it's got an A-frame and a little cabin on it, and a stream that runs through it, and waterfalls. And
Oh, come on.
so I'm home. Yeah.
Wow, that sounds
And it's
nice.
actually the blend of the best of being from West Virginia and being from Columbus. This place is in a pretty forward-thinking, progressive area because of the university down there in Athens, and it's got all of the amenities of being back home in West Virginia. So I feel perfectly at home there.
I'm just picking up pieces of notes now. I have here meeting Jay Leno and a 1955 Martin.
Yeah.
Both things I want to hear about.
Okay.
I'm not sure which one I want to hear more about. I think the 55 Martin, but I'd like to hear both. We have time for both.
Okay, good.
Yeah, meeting Jay Leno, first of all.
So I had planned a trip with Donna up to Vermont, and I got a call from the guy that's been doing our press and PR as I was packing up for this trip, and he goes, "Hey, would you like to play a show with Jay Leno?"
Ah,
And I was like, "Aha, that's fun. Whatever. I'm not going to do that. That's hilarious. I'd pay you to mess with me. Like, this he's kind of a cut up anyway." And I didn't take him seriously for about 5 minutes on the phone. And then he was like, no, seriously, like, we put you in for this like 6 months ago. He wants you to play. Cool. So I did. We worked it into our camping trip, and we showed up in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. And the whole time I'm thinking it's a put on, like this whole thing is a ruse. And I walked out, and it's an 1,800-seat theater, and I did my sound check. We're backstage
Oh, come on.
looking for snacks. And the manager's like, well, all I have is ZZ Top snacks, because ZZ Top was playing the next night. He's like, that's all I have. And he gave us this box of snacks. And Jay Leno comes and knocks on the door, and he's like, hey, what's going on, guys? And I was like, do you want to eat some of ZZ Top's snacks with us, Jay Leno? Like,
yes.
it was really cool. But and that show was awesome. I mean, he worked for an hour and 45 minutes, and he killed, in an 1,800-seat theater. He did stand up for an hour and 45 minutes. This is a long time to talk. Like, an hour and 45 minutes is forever. And Kevin Eubanks was wandering the halls, and he was just by himself. So I walked up and introduced myself, and we hit it off, and we spoke, and we've actually become friends over the course of the past year and a half, just keeping in touch, via social media and email and stuff.
Oh, Lou, that's fun.
So it's really cool. I mean, I'm super glad that I did it. It was a surreal experience. That's not the kind of thing that I'm prepped for, but watching somebody like him work was really valuable for me.
Yeah,
It was really
that's
cool.
amazing.
Yeah.
What a great experience.
And then the 55 Martin.
55 Martin, let's close with that story.
I was looking for a single lot 15. Johnny Cash had a single lot 15 that he wrote on, and I just had it in my head that I wanted one. And a buddy of mine told me, hey, there's a dude that lives not too far from you that is getting rid of his. He'd had an accident. He doesn't play anymore. He wants way too much for it. Go see what you can do. And I went and I played the guitar a couple of times. It was in a laundry hamper in this guy's bedroom. It wasn't in a case. It wasn't being cared for. He hadn't touched it in 20 years. I picked it up with dead strings. I played one chord, and I gave him everything he wanted for it. It was exactly the right guitar. It just sang. It sounds perfect. It still does. It's just an immaculate guitar. I've had it set up, since at the Martin Factory up in Nazareth. They came on as a sponsor for us last year, and I got my new D35 through them.
Wow.
But they did a lot of work on that single lot 15, and it sounds just incredible.
Well, I must admit, I was hoping you'd have it with you, but I'd like to see it sometime.
I try not to travel with it
Yeah,
too
it
much.
makes sense. I understand. I get it. I get it. Hey, folks, we're talking with Lou Poster, and he is the lead singer and guitar player for Driftmouth. He's here with Nate and Murph, and they're playing some great music for us. They've got some more to play, and let's give them a hand, folks.
Loveridge is burning. So I wrote this song in 2005, and it's gone through a couple of changes over the years, and I think we finally got it right. I think it's where I'm going to play it tonight anyway. So, let's see what we can do with it. 1, 2, 3. They loaded men in to pick us the way from Granttown in the county line. Swollen with pride, they unveiled it and showed them the miracle of Loveridge mine. Yellow and black machines, the coal and number 8 scene, and man that just don't love you. Soon there were cars in the drive and work in the town. Grinding your back into ash, well, underneath the ground. Yellow and black machine had a shovel in their hands since the age of 19. For men that just don't love you. Loveridge is burning, the old 2-lane highway is covered in fly ash concrete. Names become faces on old yellow pages. They all go to work for a while. Well, all these years they gone by, blooded as money, and the miner that's living on company wages could never be free. Yellow and black machine had a shovel in their hands since the age of 19. For men that just don't love you. Loveridge is burning, the old 2-lane highway is covered with fly ash concrete.
Names become faces, no yellow pages. We all go to work for a while.
Thanks. Probably should have had a sip of water before I started that one. All right. This next song is called The Book of Allison. A buddy of mine has a tattoo on his chest right across his heart. It says Allison. And he's an author, and I asked him, what does that Allison mean? And he said, well, I guess it's time for you to finally read my book, buddy. Instead, I just wrote this song. It's called The Book of Allison.
My share of true romances. I made a pretty good living on second chances. It's a long way down. It's a long way down. Trying to decide where I read you wrong. Got me hanging on your every little word like a book I can't put down. Kinda wonder how long I can hold my breath, waiting on you to come around again. But the pages just ain't turning, Allison. Every little thing you do has a purpose. Well, still you talk and act like you don't deserve it. It's a long way down. It's a long way down. Trying to decide where I read you wrong. Got me hanging on your every little word like a book I can't put down. Kinda wonder how long I could hold my breath, just waiting on you to come around again. Yeah, the pages just ain't turning, Allison. Trying to decide where, yeah, I read you wrong. Hanging on your every little word, the book I can't put down. Kinda wonder how long I could hold my breath, just waiting on you to come around again. But the pages just ain't turning, Allison. Now the pages just ain't turning, Allison. Allison.
Thank you. This next song is it's an honest opinion piece of what it's like to be out on the road. We're going to clean up a little bit of the language for the radio audience today, and we'll see what we get. I'd hate to get you slapped. A yellow motel down in Texas with a wall so paper thin. If the neighbors leave the lamps up high, the light comes in. Their footsteps on the carpet, threadbare at the door, echo through my thoughts of you and all our little wars. When they get to laughing like that, how long till the loving starts? I'll try to get myself to sleep before it goes that far. There's a place around the corner, they let me play guitar. The local boys are blowing reels right off the bar. The owner seems indifferent, well, there ain't no last call. Nothing but the morning come to take us all. When they get to yelling like that, how long till the fighting starts? I'll try to get myself a drink before it goes that far. Up too late on a blacktop Tennessee highway, riding those white lines on to the West Virginia hills, until the engine blows and the feeling goes, I lost my way. Well, I think it's about damn time I find it again. Sitting round your kitchen table, the cold linoleum, I listen to you tell me all that I done wrong. There's a $20 scratch off taped up to the fridge. There's a list you keep in your head of things you can't forgive. When we get to talking like that, how long till the screaming starts? I'll try to get my things and leave before it goes that far. Up too late on a blacktop Tennessee highway, riding those white lines home to the West Virginia hills, until the engine blows or the feeling goes, I lost my way. I think it's about damn time I find it again. Up too late on a blacktop Tennessee highway, riding those white lines home to the West Virginia hills, until the engine blows and the feeling goes, I lost my way. Well, I think it's about damn time I find it again. I think it's about damn time I find it again.
happen each week. Thank you all for listening to our webcast, watching us on YouTube and Twitch, and those listening to us on the Red Barn network of stations all around the world. Thanks to WEKU, Red Barn Radio's official radio partner, NPR for Central and Eastern Kentucky. Listen online at weku.org. It's your chance to hear more great live music from Red Barn Radio and WEKU. Those of you here in the Central and Eastern Kentucky area, be sure to check out Red Barn TV, our weekly program of music, now on ABC 36 WTVQ. Red Barn Radio comes to you from our home, the Arts Place Performance Hall, here in downtown Lexington, Kentucky. We thank LexArts President and CEO Amy Sweetall for helping to make the production of Red Barn Radio possible. Red Barn Radio's website has updates and further information on our guests and our program. We're on the web at redbarnradio.com. And now, once again, folks, please welcome back Driftmouth to the Red Barn stage.
Thanks a lot for having us, guys. Well, don't waste your breath on me. Just rest your crooked tongue. Do you really think that you've got what it takes to change me? Way down in your lungs. Well, I don't know what you see when your lonely eyes deceive you. But honey, I don't wanna get dragged through your bed again. If that's seeing it too. So we fight like hell's above us. Every time I try to come back home, well, I'll burn my pride and pictures of Angeline. Leave her alone. Don't waste your breath on me. Go on and rest your crooked tongue. Now, do you really think that you've got what it takes to change me? Without we fight like hell's above us. Well, every time I try to come back home, I'll burn my pride and pictures of Angeline. Leave her alone. And I'll leave her alone.
Well, folks, that's all for our show for this week. But you can see and hear Red Barn Radio worldwide as we stream live on the web on YouTube and Twitch, Wednesdays, 7 p.m. Eastern in North America. And you can also hear archive performances on Spotify and video on the Red Barn Radio YouTube channel. Lots of ways to take in Red Barn Radio. Be sure to check out our social media for updates to our upcoming schedules and more information on our program. And now from all of us here at Red Barn Radio to all of our friends around the globe, it is our hope that you have a great week. Keep working together to be safe and healthy. And until next time, good night from Red Barn Radio.